Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Chaos Dwarfs led by Hitman Hippo facing off against the Wood Elves, who shall be helmed by Nerexa here on Borderlow Landing. One of our best maps in my opinion. Very, very nice map here from the Total Tavern pack. Now, as far as the Chaos Dwarf army goes, going to be taking advantage of the 4.1 cost reductions to the Chaos Dwarf Warriors, which was pretty massive. If you have a unit of 4 or 5 Chaos Dwarf Warriors, that little bonus of, I think they got a reduction of 50 gold, is going to be adding up quite a bit. And, you know, against Wood Elves, Dwarf Warrior equivalent type units, whether it be Chaos Warriors, Chaos Dwarf Warriors, Longbeards, Dwarf Warriors, whatever, all of those shielded, durable, high armor units typically trade very, very well. So that is going to be the entire front line here. Now, in the secondary, this is very unusual. It's going to be a full battle line of Hobo Goblins. And the Hobo Goblins, let's see about their application in this matchup. You know, they actually have surprisingly high weapon strength in melee at 34, but I think where they shine is with their, excuse me, with the fire damage on their range attacks. So against like Dryads and Treekin, and Wood Elves have a lot of light armor, War Dancers, whatever, they can do some work. But I've always considered them to be a little bit overcosted, but we'll see how they do here today. In the backfield, we got some Infernal Ironsworn, great unit, blasting charges, what's not to love, magic damage against the Dryads who have physical resist, lots of good stuff. Now, the Lord here for Hitman Hippo is also going to be a Sorcerer Prophet of Fire with Burning Head and Flamestorm. Seems a little bit redundant, they kind of do the same thing, but yeah, I'm curious to see the applications here. I feel like Burning Head is just kind of the one you usually go with. It's more consistent. Now, for the Wood Elves and Nerexa, one of our local Wood Elf champions, it is going to be some great Stag Knights in the bushes, which is a really good play, because they'll probably send over like a chaff unit. Yeah, we see a Sneaky Git coming over, or maybe a Chaos Dwarf Warrior to come hold this objective, and the great Stag Knights would be able to hammer them and really give that flank the dirty. Now, for the Wood Elves, we do also have a Glade Lord up on the Dragon, and 2 Eagles. A Glade Captain, very interesting, as well as a Spell Singer of Life. Okay, so Regrowth and Earthblood looking to heal that dragon and keep that bad boy going. So this is going to be the dragon with the Helm of Discord, so it can get in there and really, really nullify your opponent's combat stats if it's able to jump into a fight by activating that. Now, the backfield for the Wood Elves is just going to be Eternal Guard. They have a very expensive army, right? The Stag Knights and these 3 hero characters on Eagles, so having mostly chaff is going to be expected. So Eternal Guard's heading towards Objective 3 and Objective 2, going to be anchoring those down, while the Chaos Dwarf army is going to be marching forward. I suspect we'll probably see like a Deathfreak rocket launcher. I wonder about that though. Could they snipe it? No, I mean, I don't think Wood Elves could effectively snipe to Deathstreak, because if they tried to come in, assuming the Chaos Dwarf player has like the correct build and has like at least one Blunderbuss or maybe an Infernal Fireglade back there to kind of deal with this harass, they could probably fend it off. And there are a lot of archers too that can also keep them honest. But of course in this game, if you guys are a little bit newer, maybe haven't seen Total War coming from Age of Empires, you can dodge missiles. It's kind of like old school Age of Empires 2, in which somebody shoots missiles, especially against single entities, you can move out of the way before they hit the ground there. So here they come, man, Chaos Dwarves. And do we see any heavy artillery coming in? No, it looks like it's going to be more infantry and Hobgoblin Bow Riders. Okay, so we are going to be getting the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders with bows. And yeah, I suppose they can kind of run around and under these flying units and put a little bit of consistent poke, and they do fire damage too, which is great. Lots of fire on this roster. Objective's going to be opening up here. So Objective 1 and the Objective 2 on the far side initially going to be going to the Chaos Dwarves, but the Wood Elves have a cheeky ambush here in the trees. We see the Christmas Cavalry coming in, and on top of that, there is another unit of Glade Riders. Glade Riders are pretty solid light cav. In general, their stats are very good. 32 melee defense. They also hit hard at 28 weapon strength, have a good charge bonus. Very good at clearing out chaff units, like Hobgoblins, for example. They should trade relatively well into them. But yeah, we see the Wood Elves coming for a little bit of back objective harass, which is one of my favorite tactics on this map, is to push up and through the lane here and then press your opponent's back objective. As far as the middle, that's not going to be an easy one to take. A huge wall of steel. It's going to be a lot of Chaos Dwarf Warriors here, certainly not taking any prisoners, and it would appear it's going to be a mobility fight on this side. So we do see the... Did he stop the cap? No, went to the Chaos Dwarves. Now we got Glade Riders as well as great Stag Knights moving on to the point. And the capture weight does flip to the Wood Elves a little bit. Granted, it's not going to matter too much when the Hobo Goblins arrive. Now, Dragon character diving in, doing some work against the Chaos Dwarves. Now we're going to get a bit of a fight as the Christmas Cavalry steamroll these Goblins. Absolutely brutal. And we are going to have a clash between the Hobo Goblins as well as the other Riders here. But it probably will favor the Chaos Dwarves in that immediate engagement because of the missile support. But then the Helm of Discord character comes in. Probably Terror Route on the table for sure. As these Wolf Riders with spears, there are 2 of them going to be getting mass terror routed, and look at that, the Wood Elves actually collapse that flank. Obviously, they have like a 2,000 plus gold dragon here who's going to be turning the tide of that fight, right? And a very wild engagement here, more Hobgoblins with spears engaging against the great Stag Knights, but honestly not the most cost-inefficient fight. These are an extremely expensive elite unit at 1,500 gold, so if you could just throw kind of a trash unit in them and bring them down like by half their health, I'd say that's a worthy engagement. But there is going to be a really, really nice heal going down here from the Wood Elves. And meanwhile, more Dryads coming out of Vanguard. Dryads, and Dryads. So solid, solid stuff. So the Chaos Dwarf army is very static, kind of sitting on the middle, whereas the Wood Elves are really, really taking advantage of their dynamic mobile play and being super, super troll here on the sides. Glade Captain's healthy, Dragon's healthy. Now they're going to be moving into the archers, and the Chaos Dwarfs don't really have like any SEs that can fight this effectively. The Sorcerer Prophet is a decent support character, but he's not going to be able to do much against the big dragon. And currently, as you can see, Nerexa with a pretty substantial value lead here, and it's only going to be growing. I think the Chaos Dwarfs kind of went with that super wide build thinking they could swarm all the objectives, but they needed some stopping power, I think. I think they need like a Deathstreak rocket launcher or maybe some Infernal Guard Fireglaves. So that's a little bit kind of unorthodox against these guys, but at least the big shooting perhaps. And also I think pushing up on the side objectives, considering you have the width advantage, maybe start moving some Chaos Dwarf Warriors towards objective 3 or something and move up with your archers and try and take advantage of your big army would just be my topical opinion here. Now, a couple Chowie Warriors do arrive to the side point, and the Hobgoblins are on their way back. Another Hobgoblin unit is going to be engaging here in a moment. Chowie Warriors are somewhat resilient here. The objective might flip as another Dryad is going to be arriving. It's going to be very, very close. And if that flips, that's going to be so hard for the Chaos Dwarfs to get back. So the Hobgoblins arrive and the other Hobgoblins arrive. That might stabilize the point, but at the end of the day, I don't think so. The Wood Elves have 2 Dryads, which is 10 capture weight, plus 4 from the Glade Riders. So that's going to be probably outdoing this Chaos Dwarf position, which is a little bit beat up. These Hobgoblins are very, very damaged, obviously. Looking on the middle, we do see the Chaos Dwarf sounding the advance, which is, I think, what needed to happen a little bit earlier. But we'll see how it turns out for them. A couple archers here, these Blade Guard with the Starfire Shafts, do get compromised by Goblins, so they moved up a little bit too far and are going to be getting prison shanked by these little angry Gobos. You can see they're moving in there, doing Hashit proud. He certainly appreciates that. I'm sure he's a very, very generous god here. But on the side objective, the Chaos Dwarfs were folded once again. As far as the points go, we do see the old Chaos Dwarfs up on points. They had a 2-cap for quite some time, but the Wood Elves are very close behind them. It's not going to be something that it's going to take them like a million years. I'm sorry, just having some accursed allergies today. You got to love it. Bull Centaurs with great weapons hustling across. That's going to be a nice answer. Anti-large, and will trade pretty well into all these cavalry units, and should also do well against the dragon if they can isolate it. But if the dragon has supporting infantry under it, probably not going to be going super well. So some shots coming out from the tree here as the archers put some firepower down. The blasting charge is also being sent into the Dryads. The Infernal Firesworn will dominate most of these Elvish infantry. And honestly, it could just move up on the point right now, but that's going to be a really nice breath attack coming in here from Nerexa. Beautiful. Takes down about 15% off those very elite units. And I think the dragon could dive in there, honestly. There's not really a lot here. I guess the Bull Centaurs are what they're kind of afraid of here, and Bull Centaur Renders going to be pulling back. Good play here by the Wood Elves, using the Dryads to kind of screen out the Bull Centaurs who don't want to be wasting their time fighting Dryads, but also a good response by Hitman Hippo, who pulls them back into the Hobgoblin Archers, which are now going to be shooting into the Dryads with fire damage. So lots of good stuff on both sides. Very, very scrappy game. And the Chaos Dwarfs, the Chowie Legions, are moving forward. Here we see the Goblin Laborers heading for the back point, and definitely need to get those Chowie Warriors engaged against the Eternal Guard. I actually don't know who wins that, though. 7.8 against 7.2, 30 and 44 against 26 and 44. Probably would be a narrow victory for the Chowie, I think. Their leadership is kind of in the same ballpark, but the Eternal Guard do have good armor piercing, but spears typically do have slower attack rates, right? So you got to take that into account. All right, big blob fight here. We do see some Hobgoblin Wolf Rider bows coming out, as well as some Spear Riders. And it's a bit of a pit fight here. The Sorcerer Prophet could be in some danger, and the Wood Elf kind of build in general is very good against blobs. We do see a Flamestorm coming down, but being very haggard and basically doing nothing. Classic. And the Bull Centaur Renders, we're going to see if they can hold this. Dryads are getting a little bit beat up. Archers nearby providing some supporting fire. Objective being held by the Wood Elves, and the Wood Elves are going to be passing the Chowie in points here very, very soon. As not much going on the other side. Mostly wet noodle contest. We have a 2v1. The Goblins and the Chaos Dwarfs going to be fighting shoulder to shoulder with a nice little surround here. Might be able to push the Wood Elves back and threaten their home objective. But yeah, the Dwarves really, really just fighting to try and get this back point back and having a hard time of it. Bull Centaur Renders, where are they? So they're fighting here, getting a decent amount of damage up on the Glade Dragon. But the Glade Dragon does have access to plenty of healing via their magic. So I don't think the Bull Centaurs are going to have a good time here. And the Glade Captain and the Dragon look to win that fight. And the Bull Centaurs are going to be terrified, actually. Interesting. Sent running to the hills. More skirmishers on the way in. Chaos Dwarf sitting up on objective number 2, holding that one pretty comfortably. Here they are getting through these Eternal Guard and could start threatening that back objective, like I said. Wood Elves call in some more Great Stag Knights. Not seeing too many Wild Riders. Great Stag Knights just kind of seem better. The armor piercing is so nice on them, and they're not that much more expensive. Although Wild Riders in the recent patch did get a cost reduction, but they still need probably a little bit more. Like, I don't know. How much do they really cost? Maybe like $950 or something? Right now, it's just Wild Riders just seem so haggard in comparison. Like, it's a shock cab unit that's just a glass cannon. You'd much rather have like an Empire Knight in most situations. Even though the DPS is less, the armor and durability makes like the world of difference. And the speed difference too, like ever since Creative Assembly gave the Bretonia, like in most heavy cab, like a big speed increase, it kind of made the role of Wild Riders a little bit less pertinent. So Hitman Hippo, though, going for a flank capture here. So he does go around his opponent who's fighting over in the trees here. And you can also see that the Glade Lord is getting kind of beaten down here. These Infernal Ironsworn, even though they're working against a bit of armor on this dragon, they still hit hard. They do have decent weapon strength and good combat stats. So they are able to get that Glade Lord down to a pretty low amount of HP. And the Bull Centaur renders, okay, this could be the comeback for the Chowie. This is exactly what they needed. A couple big picks here. And the Glade Lord's probably going to get crunched, if not shattering off the battlefield, so that is going to be a shatter. And now the Christmas Cavalry are on their way in, but it's not going to be a good fight for them. They're not anti-large fighters, and the Bull Centaurs are also backed up by the Infernal Iron Chads. So these little guys going to be getting in there, and these Stag Knights probably not going to have a good time. Although with healing maybe, and the Dragon coming back in, yes, that could totally turn the tide of the fight. The Chowie do take the objective back. Goblin Laborers and some mobile units were able to get in there and re-secure that. Glade Captain going to be running off the battlefield, and the Hobgoblin with spears now going to be battling out with the Glade Riders. And they should win just due to sheer numbers. Now, as far as this fight goes, Stag Knight's getting worn down. More of the Hobgoblin Wolf Riders on their way in, but heavy debuffs. That Helm of Discord play has been really good. Every time there's like a super clutch fight, we see Nerexa come in with that and really debuff the entire enemy army, which has been great. And on this side, we do see the Great Stag Knights find an excellent isolation. So like I said, the Chaos Dwarf army is very static. So the Wolf Riders, excuse me, the Stag Riders, they're not riding wolves. It's the other side. They're going to be able to melt down these Chaos Dwarf warriors, no problem. And could start threatening the middle objective since the Chaos Dwarves have been so focused on trying to re-secure their backfield. But overall, this has been a very close match. As far as value goes, it's 11.1, yeah, 11.1 to about 10.6. Overall, the Wood Elves are probably slightly ahead on value, considering the fact that there's been a lot of healing on the table, and the Chaos Dwarfs don't have any healing on their build. Breath attack there, not bad, right into the back. A couple archers, Hobgoblin archers have come back and are trying to shoot up into the Lord here. But the Wood Elves do get folded back here. The last of their units do falter, and now the Chaos Dwarfs do seem to have a decent play on the two objectives here. But if the Lord does go down for the Chaos Dwarfs, that's going to suck pretty bad for them. Not only will it be a leadership penalty, but the Chaos Dwarfs also are going to be losing their magic user, which is a big bummer. He hasn't really had much success. There haven't been too many good targets. Like the Wood Elf army has been very centralized around its single entities and its low model count cavalry. So the magic coming in hasn't been super good, right? Negative 15, Archer Fire providing a little bit of support, but the Chaos Dwarf Lord does break, and Nerexa, is he going to try and run? He could also, yeah, he could always run and then use his bow to snipe this Lord if he wants to, because the Wood Elf Lords do have access to a couple options here. But it looks like the Glade Lord could be in danger. The Wolf Riders come in, get a little bit of a pin, and the Chowie going to be trying to avenge their Lord, although, okay, right as I say that, they run away. Great work there, guys. But the Hobgoblins, of course, do the heavy lifting, and the Dragon does go down, and suddenly we have a very contested game. Blade Singers have made their way over to the middle. Got to watch out for blasting charges, but Blade Singers will dominate Chowie infantry. They have huge armor piercing and hit incredibly hard. So they're going to be piling in, and these Chowie warriors are going to be in substantial danger, but the blasting charges, like I said, even in very minimal amounts, could turn the tide of that fight pretty aggressively. So here's the Spellsinger of Life. Blade Riders on their way around. Spears are cruising up. Chaos Dwarf warriors here getting worn down, and now we have a real knockdown drag-out fight here on our hands as the Hobgoblins continue shooting in. And the Chaos Dwarf is going to be trying to defend the middle against the wave of Dryads. Probably going to be a lot of capture weight coming out. Wood Elves, as far as SCs go, they only really have their bird left. They have the Spellsinger of Life. It does have its Opal Amulet, which will give it a little bit of defensive capabilities. And yeah, it's doing some okay work against the archers back here. But this is going to be a tough one. You know what would be really devastating right now? If the Chaos Dwarfs had like a train in their back pocket, the Wood Elf army has lost most of its like anti-SE tools, and getting like a Skullcracker or something like that right now would be devastating. But the Blade Singer is still hanging in there. So far up to 57 kills, decent value, and those Blade Singers are going to be chopping all the way through these Infernal Ironsworn. So it looks like they're going to be targeting something else here. Definitely should have finished off these elites before going to something else. But yeah, I guess they want to try and support their cav units if they can. So as far as the capture weight goes on the middle objective, it's owned by Chaos Dwarves. Dryads are on their way over, so that's going to be 10 capture weight right here. For the Chaos Dwarves, they're moving up some Chowie Warriors, another unit of Chowie Warriors. No, that's a full health unit of Infernal Ironsworn. That is going to be incredibly tough for the Wood Elves to deal with. Meanwhile, on the side, looks like the Chaos Dwarves, I think, had a routing unit, like a crappy Hobgoblin, stealing that objective, but the Wood Elves do respond with a cheap light cav of their own, so that shouldn't really be a variable looking at this. And now the fight on the middle does begin in earnest here, as Objective 2 does start to flip to the Wood Elves. The Dryads' arrival, plus the remnants of the Stag Knights and the Blade Singers, are still a pretty big threat. They have 61 models, but really nice focused fire here by Hitman Hippo, using his Hobgoblin archers to shoot into their very low armor, right? Only 15 armor on these. They do have physical resist, which will mitigate some of the damage, but overall, the blasting charges in tandem with the firepower probably going to break those Blade Singers, and they only end up getting, let's see their value. So on the Blade Singers, about 500 value at the end of the day. So a little bit rough for sure. Eternal Guard are coming. Chaos Dwarfs holding on to the point, and you know that's the advantage of having a cheap Walmart Lord. Like a very cheap caster Lord is he only probably costs like 1,000 gold. So like if he dies, you can resummon him. But again, by resummoning him, he's only 3 capture weight, right? So for probably about 1,100 gold for this guy, maybe 1,000, 2 Dryads can come out for the price of him. So the Wood Elves can spam 10 capture weight on the battlefield, and for the same price, you're putting 3 capture weight on the battlefield. So there's pros and cons to resummoning your Lords. If you think the magic or your character in particular is going to be super impactful, yes. Typically, you never see people resummon the really expensive Lords when they die. It's just not a viable strategy. You give up too much battlefield agency. But it kind of looks like the Chowie are taking over this game. They have a point lead here. We do have the Hobgoblin Spears moving around the side. More Hobgoblins on the way here. Hobgoblin Sneaky Gets coming up from the bushes. And yeah, I don't really see what the Wood Elves can do at this point. I mean, it's going to be a couple Dryads making their way in, some War Dancers. But the Chowie seem to just have a lot of steel, a lot of durability. And what really seals the deal for me, in terms of my opinions of this, is that the Infernal Ironsworn are here. They're healthy. They have blasting charges. And it's not going to be easy to remove them. It's really cool that elite infantry are somewhat viable nowadays too. Like a lot of factions can get away with using them, even with like punishing magic. Granted, the Wood Elves didn't really bring anything to punish elite infantry, but you know, typically with that dragon, especially a combat dragon like that with the melee, character on it, you're going to want to bring some heals for that bad boy. So Infernal Ironsworn moving in, and we do see the Wood Elves moving up with more, but they know it's over. You know, a veteran of many battles. So firstly, just want to say big thank you to Nerexa for sending in the replay and also sending in a loss. Not a lot of people do that, so shout out to you. And overall, that was a very, very fun match. Taking a look here at the breakdown, it looked really bad for the Chaos Dwarfs in the beginning, but then what changed the tide of that fight was the Bull Centaur Render call-in. When the Bull Centaur Renders got there and like beat down 2 Wood Elf characters, the Dragon and the Glade Captain, that changed the entire dynamic of the fight. Before that, it was extremely one-sided, but when he was able to get the Bull Centaurs on the right target, which is not easy to do, still 2,500 value on them, that was the turning of the tide for sure. No Death Shrieks, very, very, different army, and all these archers too, just swarming. 1,500 value on one, 800 and 680 on another one. That's really good. The Wood Elf army, yeah, I mean, we saw what happened, right? Stag Knights did really good, 2,100 value, 1,700. A couple inefficiencies would have been the Blade Singers, and also having the Lords kind of get captured and beaten down there when, they're much faster. Didn't necessarily need to happen, but yeah, GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We'll be back with more sweaty replay soon. You guys take care of yourselves, and that's going to be it for tonight.